In this particular lifetime, I have been through a lot. I have gathered enough experiences that allowed me to gain the innermost sight of what your body means, of what the kingdom of heaven within yourself means, and how to actually cultivate yourself into reaching every state of consciousness that you could possibly be able to achieve. Because everything inside of this world rests on you. When you tell yourself that I can be able to grow, then you will start growing. It is not just about you making affirmations. It's about you putting in the practice, you allowing yourself to release the excess mucus that is stopping you from actually causing the more electricity to flow from the crown of your head to the roots of your feet. Because the excess mucus is what is stopping you from growing in consciousness. And through my cultivation of experience, I will share with you so that you can be able to use it to restructure your own way of dieting to fit your own particular level, so that you can be eliminating the excess mucus inside of your own system, whilst at the same time being able to achieve a higher consciousness without having to have any form of deficiency when it comes to your physical self. The body needs things. The physicality needs attachment. The physicality needs experience. You can be able to balance it. That is what it means for you to be a spirit and then to be of a physical essence at the same time. So I am going to be structuring your dieting from you, someone that eats 5 times in a day, for someone that eats 4 times in a day, so that you can begin to be able to balance this particular dieting system inside of your own being according to what is already being presented to you. I know that to eat a higher quality diet, you need something of a higher quality essence, which is most costly. So we are going to go to a level that it will be much easier for you to gain most, okay, of the sun's energy by feeding on less modified organisms or less modified materials inside of this particular world. So without further ado, I want to take you to the board. That way the explanations will be much easier for you to understand very easily. Then we can keep moving forward. Okay? Everything that we eat in this world, okay, everything that we eat in this world, it's involved in 3 particular forms. It's either that we are ingesting things in a solid form, we are ingesting things in a liquid form. I'm gonna hold my brush right. Or we are ingesting things in a gas form. These are the 3 basic forms of yourself. This is the Holy Trinity. This is what your body is made up of. You descended from light all the way to liquid and then to solid. So I'll not waste my time on that. I've spoken a lot about that already. So everything that is inside of this world is a food that is usually depicted in one of these particular forms that you eat. And when it comes to your body, this is your body. You are the 5. The representation of your 2 arms, your 2 legs, and then your 1 head. Each of these particular selves are further on divided. I don't want to send it in a much biological way or biology way that you end up feeling like this is more of a science class. So I will limit it to a particular level where your understanding can be much easier to attain. Then that way, the more understanding that you build and your awareness, then you can also ask for us to go a little bit deeper. Then we can keep going deep. Okay? So this particular 5 parts of your body, let's just divide it into a simpler form where the explanation will be easy. Okay? You have 1, the nervous system. Okay? You have 2, the circulatory system. You have 3, the skeletal system. You have 4, the muscle system. You have 5, the respiratory system. Okay, so these are 5 major centers of the body. When it comes to the organs, your body is made up of 12 organ system. This 12 organ system is the reflection of me telling you about the alpha and then the omega. It is also the representation of the 12 cranial systems of your brain. Each of these particular systems is attached themselves to this particular experience by a way of digestion, each of the gas way of you experiencing reality, each of the liquid way that you put things inside of your body, and through the solid absorption of everything inside of your being. Okay? So when it comes to your nervous system happens to do with anything inside of your body that is operating at the rate of an electricity. Okay? Everything that works with carrying of electric signals is what your nervous system works around. I told you that from the crown of your head, as you like this, to the roots of your feet, you are made up of meridian lines. And these meridian lines, when you look at your palms, when you look at your feet, there's always these tiny, tiny lines. It looks very tiny, very small, like this. Every single part of you has it. It is through these particular channels that the electricity inside of your being is usually transmitted. Okay, so from the crown of your head to the roots of your feet, there's always electric signals that is being sent all the way to the down, and then it picks all the way down to all the way to the top again. So electricity is what surrounds your entire being as the first form of yourself, as gas, the light. Okay, that is why it is not visibly seen, but it is still there. Okay, so when it comes to the way of your nervous system, it's the way of transmuting electric energies, electric signals. The way in which the body speaks to the mind is by a way of electrical notes. Okay, you understand this? So from the beginning system of your nervous system, you have something called the brain, okay, and then the spinal cord. The spinal cord is one, and then the brain is the top. So everything that grows from the spinal cord is the peripheral nervous system. Okay? I'm putting this as much simple as I can for you. The nervous system is divided predominantly into two forms. We have the central nervous system, which is the CNS, and we have the peripheral nervous system, which is the PNS. Okay? Now, when it comes to what the central nervous system is, it consists of the brain and then the spinal cord. Okay? The two forms of yourself that I told you that it represented the beginning form of what the first timeline is. This is the CNS, the central nervous system, and this is the peripheral nervous system. The spinal cord consists of the brain and then the spinal cord. Okay? The central nervous system consists of the brain. This is the brain. And then this is the spinal cord. Okay? Everything that has to do with the spinal cord is what transmutes electrical signals. What are these electrical signals? They are the motions, okay, that goes inside here. It's like motor signals. The one that alerts you that, oh, danger is coming, you need to move to the left side of the road. Oh, this person is going to do it like this, you need to dodge like this. Those are the signals that is being carried by the spinal cord. So it travels all the way to this particular part of yourself, and then it brings the information all the way to the brain for the brain to interpret it. So everything that has to do with your physical five senses, okay, everything that deals with your physical five senses is picking information through your spinal cord, and then it is transmuted all the way back to your head, and your head will tell the body, this is the way to go about things, this is how to go about things, you should go about things this way, this should go about things that way. Everything depends on the brain. Okay? So when it comes to the peripheral nervous system, those are the extensions. When I talk about extensions, these are your brain and this is the spinal cord. So the little kind of timelines that grow outside, okay, or on the spinal cord is what you call the peripheral nervous system. They grow extra on your spine. Okay, they are like the little root systems. Just like a tree, it extends itself to every aspect part of your physical being. That is why even if your small finger touches something that is hot, you are able to feel it, because that is what it does. It picks up information from the environment and then it sends it all the way here, and before you know, it gets onto the spinal cord, and the spinal cord pushes that information to the brain, and the brain tells you that this thing is hot, you need to get your hand off, and that particular electricity goes all the way back to this side, and tells you to get your hand off the fire. That is how fast your brain works. Okay? So I want you to think about it. When you usually bring your hand closer to the fire, do you see how many seconds it takes for your brain to tell you that no, that is not a wise choice, you shouldn't do that? That is how fast the brain is. But your body is still waiting for the information from the brain to be interpreted to it that this is hot, you shouldn't touch it. So everything that deals with electricity inside of yourself is inside of the nervous system. The nervous system is the first form of yourself from your light body. Your light body is this electricity that is covering you. It is the only thing that is making you real. The L, that is your first condensed form. From light, you started condensing down into matter. So the matter part of yourself, the physical first form of yourself, is the electric form, which is the nervous system. I hope this is understandable. Okay? So when it comes to your nervous system, everything that you are eating inside of this world, be it is of a solid nature, be it is of a liquid nature, be it is of a gas nature, it is involving the energy of the nervous system. 90% of the energy goes to the nervous system, because your nervous system is the one that will interpret the information inside your mouth. Okay, whether it is solid gari that you are eating, or it is banku, or it is emutu, it is the tank that will interpret it for the entirety of your system to be able to respond. Okay, so you ask yourself, the way in which I am involving myself in my dieting system, the food that I eat, how much amount of electricity is in it? Okay, ask yourself, the daily consumption that I eat my food, the way in which I eat my food on a daily basis now, how much of electricity is involved in those particular foods? And I told you that the biggest electricity form inside of this world is the sun. The sun powers everything inside of this world. Okay, the sun gives life. It gives everything that is organic life. But the issue is that they pick what is organic, like the mango, and then they remove the instead of 5%, they turn it back into 3%. Okay, leaving the 2% to be the anti-system of what is keeping your nervous system from transmitting energy freely and then efficiently. Okay, so once you understand this, everything that you are going to put inside of your body, you will think of it twice. How much amount of energy is coming from the sun? How much of the sun's energy am I being absorbed inside of my system? And how much of mucus am I accepting for myself? Do you understand? That is how you are supposed to think of things before you eat. Because you know that the more mucus that you put inside of your body, the less electric signals that is being transmitted. So instead of you always going for something that has 2%, okay, of sun's nutrients, and then 10% of what? Mucus, you will start going for 10% of electricity and then 2% of mucus. It doesn't simply mean that you should stay away from eating mucus. No, it simply means that you should understand that when your brain starts telling you that what you're about to eat is too bad for you, don't take too much of it. You should understand and then you cut down on it. That is why you have conscience. That is you know what negative and positive is. You know what left and right actually means. When you learn to listen to yourself will provide the answers for you. Do you understand? So when it comes to your dieting, look first what I'm eating, what amount of sun energy am I gaining from it? What amount of sun energy? So I hope that nervous system, the explanation is much simple for you to understand. Okay? So let's pick the next one. Let's go to the circulatory system. Then that way, you can leave your questions under the comment section. Okay, if you have a question to ask about the nervous system, you can leave the question under the comment section. If there's enough, I'll come in, I'll pick all of them, and then I'll be able to explain it in a video manner. If it is something I can answer you directly, I will write it down there for you to also read. Okay, so let's go to the circulatory system. So let's go on to the circulatory system. Okay, the circulatory system is the part of you that works with blood. Everything that has to do with your blood system is what your circulatory system is. Circulatory simply means that it moves around. Every single thing inside of your system, this is you, okay? Every single vein, every single nerve, blood is always moving. From here, it will come to here. From here, it will get to there. It will follow every root system inside of your being. And when it comes to how your nerves are arranged inside of your own self, it is just the depiction of this in another form. It looks like you exactly because every single part of your physical self has a nerve or it has a vein. Okay? Every single part of yourself has an artery or it has a vein. So when it comes to your whole being, in drawing or in sketching what your circulatory system looks like, it's always like this. Okay? It goes like this and then it goes like that. And this place is a vein and this is an artery. So within every vein follows an artery. Okay? An artery follows every vein. And within every vein follows an artery, and within every artery follows a vein. So that is how it is. It's like this. They follow each other. Every vein moves with every artery, and every artery moves with every vein. Okay? So it is generally the water content of your body. Everything that has to do with the movement of water from the crown of your head all the way to the roots of your feet, all is circulating under the circulatory system of your being. Okay? So when it comes to the foods that you eat, the foods that you eat are solids. Okay? The foods that you eat are liquids. The foods that you eat is gas. Alright? These are the three forms of food. Each of them too has a particular influence on your circulatory system. I told that when it comes to your circulatory system, you have something called the vein, and then you have something called the arteries. Okay? These are what carries blood into, okay, your being. It carries blood into your cells. And when it comes to the arteries, they are what carries blood away from the heart. Okay? Your heart is that particular organ in the middle that is responsible for pumping out, for creating blood by a way of what you eat, be it of solid, be it of liquid, be it of gas. It is what is creating that particular hemoglobin, or the context of what you call red blood cells. It is what creates the platelets. It is what creates the white blood cells. It is what creates the plasma energy. There is plasma inside of your blood because the water and then the electricity is in one particular row. Okay, they all work in one particular sequencing system. Let me pick this slowly. Okay, so this is your heart. What your heart does is it creates blood. Where does creation of blood come from? Or what does your heart use to create blood? From the foods that you eat. Okay, so let's say the amount of solid food that you are eating. Every single solid form of food that you are eating has a certain level of minerals in it. Okay, so let's say the minerals that your blood requires mostly is ions. Okay, it requires a lot of iron. It requires a lot of fiber. It requires a lot of what? Oxygen. Okay? It requires a lot of what? All right? Come on, let's go. Okay? It requires, let's say it requires all these. And the fruits that you are supposed to be eating is supposed to be high in ions. That will allow your blood to tilt itself, because the blood manufacturing system is not like a way of the industry. Okay, it works like a mechanism through which this part of your heart is responsible for taking in solid food. Okay, after your cells have broken it down and the amount of energy that it is able to gain is like this. Okay, it begins to distribute this particular kinds of energy to this part of your blood. It tells your blood that this is the energy, the amount of energy that I'm able to get from the food that you've eaten. So this your blood will separate this particular energy into forms. Do you understand? It will break this particular energy into forms, be it the iron inside of you is 2%. Okay? And the fiber inside of this one is 1%. And the context of what your what do you call it? Your plasma essence, or what causes the healing process, your white platelets or your white blood cells to complete the clotting system is 0.1%. Okay? So when it comes to that, when it picks this particular energy and then it divides it into this, then it processes it, okay? It changes it from that particular form that it is into another form. Do you understand what I'm saying? It picks the form and then it changes it into another form. This is the second stage. And in this stage, it is responsible for picking up this particular fiber, these particular ions, to relay it to each of the organs of your being. Okay? This is you. To each of the organs of your being. If you are someone that is lacking blood, then that means that it needs more formations of ions inside of your system. It requires more ions. So instead of you to always be feeding on foods that is filled with what? Sodium. Okay? Instead of you to always be feeding on foods that has a lot of sodium, you should redirect that particular attention into consuming things that are more of iron. Okay? That is how you help the heart. That is how you stop the heart from a way of it suffocating itself by providing it the necessary nutrients that it needs to keep functioning. So when that happens, after it has extracted the amount of ions inside of the energy that you've eaten, it begins to transport it to this particular level. Okay, so to produce or to create what you call the white blood cells, okay, the white blood cells, okay, WBC, it begins to create and then to multiply your white blood cells. And the more white blood cells that you have inside of your system, if you cut yourself, it begins to heal automatically, almost immediately. Okay, certain people, they'll have a wound. It doesn't die easy. It's because the amount of white platelets that is being summoned or that is being pushed or the diet that you are being eaten is not flowing through that particular place very well. And there are different kinds of conditions that can be causing this. Okay, I told you, the more understanding that you understand what I'm teaching, this is the smallest level. Okay, we can start digging deeply into your blood systems, how it is being categorized and how each of them breaks down these particular energies inside of your being. We can go into that, but you understand this small thing, then we can get deeper. Okay, so that is what is the circulatory system is. The circulatory system, with the assistance of the nervous system, keeps the blood inside of you warm. Okay, it keeps your blood boiling always, because once your blood begins to cool down, it turns from a state of being solid, a liquid, it turns from a state of being balanced into a state of solid. Okay, it begins to form solid molecules, because I told you, the slower that the cells inside of your being begins to vibrate, okay, the smaller or the slow down that they become. They are supposed to be flowing like this. Okay, the way in which the blood inside of your being, it is supposed to be flowing in this manner. Okay, so if you are something, or if you have something inside of your veins that is clotting, the way in which they are pumping the blood and then it is moving, then the slower it begins to slow down. The blood begins to slow its movement. And when it begins to slow its movement, then it is changing its state from being a liquid into a solid state. Do you understand what I'm saying? When the change of it starts moving from this level to this level, then that is when you begin to get issues with the heart. That is when you begin to get issues of the heart. You go to hospital, they tell that you need to take this medicine, you need to involve yourself in this particular practice, you need to do this, because they are trying to create insulin that will boost this, from it moving from a slower state back to moving into a fast state. So you will take the medicine will go inside, it will hide the cells, and then the cells will begin to vibrate at a higher frequency again. Then a few times you will leave it, and then you go back to living your life exactly how you've lived, and then they will start going back from being active back into being slow again. You have to go in for the medicine again. That is why you go to church every day, you never find solutions to your problem. It never ends, because you have to learn to be disciplined enough to understand that this is your body, this is not anybody's body. If you don't take care of your body, you are going to slow down, and once you begin to slow down, a time will come, if you are not watching yourself very carefully, that particular line that is moving slow will begin to not move at all, and that is when the hospital will declare you deceased. You understand? When your blood totally becomes solid, when it begins to cool down, because there is no longer electricity from your nervous system to keep the blood warm. There is no longer electricity traveling through the heads to the roots level to make sure that the blood keeps moving, it doesn't cool down, then that is when the life has left the body. That is when the fire state of yourself begins to quench. That is when your entire body begins to grow cold. You are lifeless. That is the power of the circulatory system. Every single movement of blood from the crown of your head to the roots of your feet, you should be grateful to this. You should watch out the food that you put inside of yourself that is solid, because everything is always the amount of energy that it takes from the sun. There are foods that you eat that contains plenty amount of ions. I'm going to also take my time and then to break those down for you to understand which foods have more ions, which food has more fiber in them, which food has more carbohydrate, which food has more protein in them, which food has more fats. Then that way, if you are a person that is not lacking protein, but you lack carbohydrate, you will know how to station yourself into getting more carbohydrate into the body. If you are someone that doesn't need more carbohydrate and you need more protein, you know exactly how to structure yourself and then to be able to put more protein into the body without you being able or without you harming your own essence, by still maintaining a balanced equation of yourself. Okay? It's as simple as that. So I hope you understand what the circulatory system is. This is little about what it represents. We'll go deeply when your consciousness begins to grow. Okay? So let's move to the third one, which is the skeletal system.